On May 16, 2025, Orleans Parish Justice Center in New Orleans was rocked by an escape that would shake the city to its core. 10 dangerous criminals, all facing serious charges, managed to break out of a supposedly high-security facility, the type of escape that happens in movies. Not real life, but this was real, and the consequences were far-reaching. What followed was a manhunt, a tale of betrayal, survival, and the eventual triumph of the law. Here's the story of how 10 men escaped, and how 9 of them were brought back down. The escape didn't happen in a single night. It took weeks of planning, patience, and perfect timing. These men were not just criminals, they were masterminds. Behind their cold, hardened eyes was a plan that was unfolding methodically, inch by inch, over the course of weeks. In one cell, Antoine Massey, a man convicted of violent crimes, including attempted murder, became the ringleader. He knew the flaws of the system better than anyone. After all, he had been inside for a long time. Along with him, there were others, each with their own set of skills. They knew what they needed to escape, and most importantly, they knew how to work together. It started with a small detail that went unnoticed by the authorities for years: a faulty toilet sink unit. This seemingly innocent fixture would become the first step in a carefully executed escape plan. As the guards made their rounds, the inmates went to work, quietly, carefully. They removed the toilet sink unit. Behind it, they discovered what they needed: a small hole in the wall. No one had ever suspected it. To the staff, it was just another part of the old facility that had been neglected over time. The tunnel was narrow, claustrophobic, and seemingly endless, but to the escapees, it was freedom. It was their only chance at survival. Every inch they crawled brought them closer to the outside world. They had to move quickly. Time was running out, and if they were discovered, their plan would be over. Once they made it through the narrow passage, they found themselves in a forgotten area of the facility, the maintenance area. From here, they had access to the back door leading into the loading dock. It was dark, abandoned, and no one had paid attention to it for years. It was perfect. Fence was their final obstacle. A high barbed wire fence stood between them and freedom, but the escapees were prepared. They tied blankets together, using them like ropes to climb to the top. It was a risky move, but with the stakes so high, there was no turning back. The inmates were free, but not yet safe. The clock was ticking, and with every passing minute, the odds of getting caught increased. But they had made it out. They had beaten the system, at least for now. Discovery of the escape sent shockwaves through the city. Authorities were slow to react at first. They didn't realize the full scale of the breakout until the morning headcount, when 10 inmates were found to be missing. By then, the escapees were already miles away, scattered across the city. The hunt was a multi-agency task force was immediately formed. FBI agents, state troopers, U.S. Marshals, and New Orleans police all working together to track down the escapees. But the fugitives were clever, and they blended into the city's underbelly, taking refuge in abandoned buildings, safe houses, and even among their own familiar. Surveillance footage was key. With every lead, the authorities closed in, but even with all the technology at their disposal, the escapees were always one step ahead. They were good at hiding, and the city's maze of back alleys and hidden spots gave them an edge. A task force worked around the clock. With each passing day, the pressure to find the inmates grew. But it wasn't just the law enforcement teams who were desperate. The city was on edge, with rumors circulating and citizens panicking for weeks. The task force combed through neighborhoods, knocked on doors, and scoured abandoned buildings. The police were relentless, but so were the escapees. They had planned every move, calculated every risk. As the days turned to weeks, the escapees were still out there, still free. And then, a breakthrough. A tip came in through Crime Stoppers. The tipster claimed that one of the escapees, Antoine Massey, was hiding out in the Holly Grove neighborhood. It was the break the task force had been waiting for. Team moved in swiftly. Surrounding the house, they breached the door, and inside, they found Antoine Massey. But unlike most fugitives, Massey didn't fight. He didn't try to escape. Instead, he surrendered without a struggle. After 6 weeks on the run, his escape had come to an end. Massey was taken into custody, and as he was escorted into the waiting police car, the city breathed a sigh of relief. But while Massey's capture was a victory, it also left one final fugitive still on the loose: Derek Groves, the last of the escapees, a dangerous man with a history of violent crime. He had been convicted of second-degree murder and attempted murder in connection with the 2018 Mardi Gras shooting. Groves was a man who had nothing to lose, and the authorities knew he was capable of anything. With Massey captured, the task force turned its full attention to Groves. They had already put out a $50,000 reward for his capture, and law enforcement was working tirelessly to track him down, but Groves was a master at disappearing into the shadows. Would they catch him in time? Groves remained elusive, but the pressure was mounting. The law had come close, but with every passing day, it seemed he was slipping further away. The task force pressed on. But the streets of New Orleans seemed to keep him hidden. The escape was a wake-up call. How could 10 dangerous criminals slip through the cracks of a supposedly high-security facility? The truth was clear: the Orleans Parish Justice Center had been neglected. Its outdated infrastructure and poor maintenance had allowed this breakout to happen. In the wake of the escape, calls for reform grew louder. Citizens demanded better security, improved prison conditions, and more accountability from the state. It was a harsh reminder that when a system fails, the consequences can be far-reaching. Search for Derek Groves continues. The manhunt is still ongoing, and authorities remain determined to capture the last of the escapees. The story of this jailbreak may not be over, but for most of the men involved, the clock is ticking. Will Groves be caught? Only time will tell. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more updates on this case and other true crime stories. Stay safe and keep your eyes open. What do you think will happen next? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more true crime coverage.